Hello everyone, welcome to another constructed video on MTG Arena. So, when they first put the set online and it was only well-known streamers and such that were able to play for that first day, one of the decks that most fascinated me was Huey Jensen playing a Bant Pod deck. So I played around with that a little, but this is actually the version of Pod that has impressed me the most. So for anyone a little newer to Magic who doesn't know, Pod refers to the card Birthing Pod, which allowed you to sacrifice a creature and search your deck for one with a converted mana cost of 1 higher. Prime Speaker Vannifar has an identical text box, except that one even required mana to do, and she just does it. So once you get this card going, it's kind of better, which is pretty amazing. But anywho, basically the way Pod decks tend to be built is you have a lot of creatures. Here we've got like 30-something. Do we actually have any non-creature spells in this version? No, I don't think so. So this is 37 creatures. And you need to have a selection of creatures going all the way up the curve. If you have a lot of 3-drops and some 5s but no 4s, Vannifar doesn't work, because you need to be able to turn a 3 into a 4, then turn that into a 5. The other way that these decks tend to play is that you have a mixture of value creatures that you're willing to play and then pod away, and they'll just, like, generate something for having been there. So turning this into a Doom Whisperer is better than just playing a Doom Whisperer, because I killed their creature and then made the giant demon. But then, what these decks also have is they tend to have what are called bullets, which are basically cards that are sort of narrow, but very good in specific matchups, and you only need to play one of those to add a lot to your deck, because Vannifar effectively adds 4 copies of every card that we would need. So, an example of a bullet in this deck is Plague Mare. In a lot of matchups, this card is terrible. It doesn't do anything. But against the white weenie and token strategies, it is incredible. So it's well worth our while to play exactly 1 copy, because even if we don't draw it, Vannifar can turn any of our 2-drops into 1, and often just win the game. The main reason to play black is you get the better removal creatures. You don't have Deputy of Detention, but Ravenous Chupacabra is just kind of better a lot of the time. Same with Hostage Taker. And most importantly, I figured out we get Midnight Reaper. This deck, the Sultai Pod deck, can grind opponents out like none of the other versions I've played. When Vannifar turns your random 3-2 that wasn't doing anything anymore into a Findbroker to get back the Plaguecrafter, and you also draw a card, there's just basically no one who can keep up with that. And so, particularly against decks that are light on removal and can't get Vannifar off the table, this version just runs away with the game really hard. The other reason to play Sultai is that we actually get a really good sideboard. One of the struggles of the pod decks is that control decks are very difficult. We've got a bunch of dead cards like Ravenous Chupacabra, and even our aggressive cards just don't really do much. Like, these are just pretty mopey aggro creatures. And importantly, control decks, in the past, you basically were able to beat them just by having enough value that they couldn't stop you. Like, a card like Midnight Reaper would have been game over for a lot of older control decks, because we would just keep playing these and replacing them and eventually run them out of cards. But most of the control decks I've been running into just win the game with Nexus of Fate and taking infinite turns, and they don't really care what your board looks like, and so just drawing a lot of cards is not good enough against them. Fortunately, Duress and Negate are good enough. Plaguecrafter lets us upgrade some of our bad creature removal into cards that can deal with Teferi, or at worst make them discard a card. And Vraska Golgari Queen is fine. She's not the best planeswalker, but she can turn our weak creatures into more cards, so she's a pretty good versatile card. Then finally, against the aggressive decks, we've got Moment of Craving and Golden Demise. We're pretty good against those to start, but this lets us upgrade our deck just a little bit. I think that's all for now. I'll explain other card choices as they come up if we hit the right matchups. I'll go ahead and get on to the games. Okay, getting into the first match. Oh, I should note, I've decided that I'm just going to be playing best of 3 from now on. This hand's quite good. And the reason for that is that they announced that best of 3 will have ranked soon, in a couple weeks, And so rather than playing best of one, which I don't enjoy as much and tends to just be a lot of aggro decks, I will play what so far have been okay matches in this format, and I will, and then I can just be on the ranked ladder in a few weeks anyway, so no need to change the format for such a short period of time. This hand is a little weird, because you may have noticed, our deck is actually primarily green-black, with just a little bit of blue. Vannifar, Exclusion Mage, Hostage Taker, and Dream Eater are the only blue cards. Okay, here I'm just going to go ahead and play the Jadelight Ranger, because that uses our mana best. Don't need to get another Llanowar Elves into play. Okay, we hit a black. That's fine then. Yeah, so we basically just need one blue source every game, but we do need double black relatively early. Opponent played a forest and did nothing. This could be one of the mono green decks with a weird draw. Could be a slower green mid-range deck. Could even be like a Bant control. Mono green looking more likely. Okay, a dinosaurs deck. Alright. Let's see what they get here. I think overall these should be pretty good matchups, but our draw is not very good for it. I guess technically here I should have played the Branchwalker, then... Yeah, I'll keep that. That's probably good against a ramp deck. We can't quite play it next turn, which makes me regret not going Branchwalker extra Llanowar Elves last turn, because then we'd have a turn 4 Dream Eater, but this should be fine. They're not really doing much, and most of the scary dinosaurs aren't on 3 anyway, so... Here we're applying some pretty good pressure, we've developed our mana, and hopefully the Sphinx Nightmare Sphinx will be able to let us push through for the last few points of damage. That is probably the worst play for us they could have had. Luckily this can also scry 4, so hopefully scry us into one of our really good cards, either... one of our 5-drops, which are just powerful, or a Vannifar would be excellent here. If we got a Vannifar going, like, starting next turn or whatever, like if we draw one, we should be able to beat up a deck like this pretty easily. Okay, their creatures are cheaper, and big creatures get bigger when they attack. Okay, sure. So maybe not a dedicated dinosaurs deck, or this might be the only non-dinosaur. Ooh. Huh. Alright, change of plans. Dream Eater can wait. So this is a really good opportunity. It's possible I'm supposed to try to take this off the field, but I really like that I'm able to play this and then have some good attacks this turn. Like, they can block here and trade, but that's very good for us, and now their life total is starting to be threatened seriously. Especially since they are unlikely to have anything that can be particularly good against Dream Eater. And this is what's, like, really fun about playing pod decks, because they are both really consistent, because you can tutor up whatever you want, just look through your whole deck and find the perfect card when you have pod going. But when you don't, you draw a mixture of your staple value creatures, like we've got 4 of each of these for a reason. But then also, they missed their 5th land. It's weird that they couldn't play anything with Goreclaw, though. Oh well. But yeah, when you don't draw your pod card, then you draw a mixture of your 4-ofs, but then you also hit a few of your random... Oh, we should have attacked with this. Oops. Your random bullet creatures. And so then you have to try to make a win out of those. Ooh. That is unfortunate for us. I didn't even consider playing around that card, but at 3 mana, this is a really good rate. Like, I'm really happy to play this card if I have a Goreclaw out. I could have bounced it back before blocks to save my Branchwalker and get in for some damage, but I really just want to get Vannifar going. They basically have one turn to answer this, or they are going to start getting very unhappy. We just have a lot of good cards to pod into, a lot of better cards. And particularly, what's so good about this card that you might not think about at first is that every time it activates, you're getting almost a whole creature's worth of effect. Like, if we turn this into a Plaguecrafter or whatever, like, we lose the 2/3, but that's pretty close to just playing a Plaguecrafter. But we also still have all of our mana, so we get to actually just play our 4/3. So now we gotta decide how we want to win this game. Their board has things locked down pretty hard, and so just attacking normally is probably going to be tough. So, what I think I will do... This might be overly aggressive, but I want to start closing the game. They're pretty low. I'm going to sack this Hostage Taker. We already got value off the Taker, so we don't need it to do anything else. And now we have a giant scary demon that holds off 2 of their attackers and also threatens to end the game pretty quickly. And then I'm just going to pass, because on their turn, when they attack, I can flesh in Dream Eater and bounce Ghalta. And they know about this because we saw it off of an Explorer, so they can play around it, but there's not that much they can do to play around it. Like, this is going to mess up their turn pretty badly. I'm still not totally sure if this is the card that we're supposed to be playing, because it doesn't fit with the types of cards that I mentioned are usually good in pod decks. Yeah, this is a little annoying because this gets buffed up, but we'll be fine. Oh yeah, we get to surveil first, so if for some reason we didn't want to bounce Ghalta, we get to find out, but find it pretty hard to believe we'd do anything but bounce Ghalta. Don't want this. Don't want a second Vannifar. Maybe we want a Midnight Reaper. Yeah, I think these are fine. Gonna bounce Ghalta so we don't get hit for quadrillion damage. Yes, I will take action. Okay, and now we go to blocks. And we've got a few ways to do this. I think I'm just going to block here. We'll take a couple damage from that one, but that is okay. And we're losing a lot of our board here, but we're eating their whole board, so I think that's fine. If they have like a lightning strike, they can save their sail back, but I think that's okay. Maybe they have a pump spell for their Goreclaw here. We can't die, like we're at way too much health, but they might be able to maintain some amount of their board. Okay. Yeah, and like here we get hit for a lot of damage and we just lose our Dream Eater. But I think they're dead on board afterwards, because they can't block this, and then we just have too many creatures getting through. So we're going to get at least 2 damage onto them. Yeah. So. That was a good trick. It managed to keep their Goreclaw alive and hit us for a bunch, but they are dead. Even if they block here, they're taking 10, so... Alright. Cool, got game 1. Okay, so what is good against red-green big things? Plague Mare is awful. Another fun thing about playing a deck like this, often the cards that you board out are relatively easy to figure out because, oh man, is it obvious that Plague Mare is really awful in this matchup. I don't love Vampire Sovereign. I prefer this as an evasive threat and this if we just want to stall out the board. We might regret cutting our main life gain card, but maybe. Maybe not. What cards are good? Basically just Plaguecrafters, and so I think I'm fine just bringing a couple more of those in. They didn't show Mana Dorks, they just showed big creatures, and so Edicts are quite good. Yeah. think this is fine. Maybe there's a card that's worse than the 4th Plaguecrafter, but I'm pretty happy with the makeup of the rest of the deck. Okay. I think on the draw, this is fine. Hopefully we hit in land, so either of these come untapped to get Branchwalker onto, but then this is probably our best card in the matchup, and this is definitely one of our best, especially with these guys. And if we don't die, this will stall out the board and take over pretty effectively, so I think this is fine, but if we stumble, we might just lose. We shall see. Okay, that's not an incredible draw, but not the worst. Would love, like, a breeding pool or something like that. Get this in untapped. Yes, perfect. So now I can play my Branchwalker, hopefully select for land number 4. Put that in the graveyard, because it is not land number 4. We go Seekers Squire into Vannifar, and then start, like, playing Chupacabra and immediately sacking it every turn. I think we're going to run away with the game pretty quickly. They have another Brontodon? No. Okay. That's pretty good against our type of deck. That's interesting. Presumably they have some amount of enraged creatures. I don't think I want the next one of that effect. We already have our turns plotted out for the next while. We don't need another random 2 mana card. Breeding pool makes such gross noises. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but they go on for a long time. Halar? This is the card for kickers, right? Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm still gonna get my pod creature going. Like, we could kill this, but I'm not that scared of it, especially not yet. It'll take a lot of kicker cards to get this really big. So we can clean it up later with one of these if we have to. In an ideal world, I guess what we want to do, sure, Thrashing Brontodon, that's fine. Their attacks aren't really good here because they tapped out already. We can just put 2 of these. Oh, I was just saying that I wanted a Midnight Reaper. So, what is our best play? It might be to just get this Ooze going. Like, their board won't be able to keep up with this after even a couple turns. Yeah. Go ahead and do that. And, fun fact, in case you haven't noticed, there are only like 3 Oozes in Standard, but Prime Speaker Vannifar is one of them. So, you get to keep growing your Vannifar, which I just find really amusing. Alright. I haven't super thought about what we're getting on 3. Huh. Probably just Jadelight Ranger. This is just our value play. We could, like, bounce one of their creatures with Exclusion Mage, though. That might be better. Like I mentioned, I think we're very likely to win as long as we don't get run over. So let's just keep the board under control. I'm not going to attack because this is our best block. We don't want to trade away our Oozes because these Oozes are going to get really big. They're a little bit stalled out on lands here, so that makes this play more appealing. They did hit their 4th land this time, but they were unlikely to find anything that was that good. So. Alright, so we have access to 6 mana, which is not a great number, because we have 4s and 3s. But here we can get rid of Goreclaw, and then I'm immediately going to turn... Yeah, I was going to turn this Chupacabra into our other Biogenic Ooze, so we were going to have 5 total Oozes growing by 2 counters at every turn, and that game was really over. So, cool! Red-green big stuff loses to Sultai Value Pod. I'll be back with the second match. Okay, match 2 against Terror. on the draw this time. This deck is pretty good on the draw, just because we have Llanowar Elves, so we can kind of steal the play back pretty easily. And not good enough. Sand also kind of sucks, but we don't have double green, so I don't think we can keep that. That's unfortunate. Could be in trouble this game. We have 3 of our bullets and mana that doesn't quite work, and oh boy. Well, that does help, because we can get that on 2 and do this on 3, although Hallowed Fountain makes me think that that is not a good game plan. Well, Breeding Pool, you are not right on time. Yeah, we're gonna need to draw some of our better cards for this game not to just completely run away from us. Or they could just miss their land drops. That's another way for this to happen. I think I'm not even going to play this next turn, because currently the only spell they're repping is, like, Syncopate for 1. And if we can get this going, we'll run away with the game pretty easily. Yeah, okay, so they are a control deck, like I'd guessed. Unless they're doing something really weird with Chemister's Insight. I will pay. Because I had nothing else to do this turn. Okay, this game is not going ideally for either of us, but... Okay, opt. See if they find a land here. They did not. Cool. Yeah, okay, they just scoop it up. They probably should have waited a little while. They were probably just frustrated, but we were going to show them some more things that they were probably interested in seeing. Okay, Vampire Sovereign, bad. Chupacabra and Hostage Taker, quite bad. Plague Mare, awful. Exclusion Mage, awful. And against control decks, we should really trim a couple of pods. Like, if we get this going, it's still good, and it's better against the white control decks than the black, but it's hard to keep this and a bunch of other cards on the table. So, I think this is probably the arrangement I'm going to go with for now. We might end up cutting something else, like Midnight... Actually, right now. I'm just going to cut a couple of Midnight Reapers for the other Plaguecrafters. This card is basically only good with Vannifar against the white control decks. This card is much better against black control decks where they're actually killing your creatures. So this arrangement is much better suited to beat up on control. We got really lucky stealing that first game. Like, our deck is not good in the matchup game 1. And especially a lot of the cards we drew were extra not good. And seems great. Elves into Seekers Squire Elves should fix our draws. We have an Edict for... I guess I should mention... this card primarily exists to get rid of Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. That card is extremely difficult to beat. It will bury you very quickly, and their decks are very good at stopping you from attacking it. So, we play a card where we don't have to attack it. See, they might have a counterspell for my Jadelight Ranger here. Yep, sure. That's fine. Basically, the way this game is going to go... Oh, they miss on lands again. That's unfortunate for them. I'm going to play this first in case they have another Quench. This is the one I want to resolve. Sure. But basically the way these matchups tend to go is early on we're going to trade cards. They'll trade counter spells and maybe a little bit of removal for our creatures. We're going to try to apply pressure. Oh, they were missing a color last game too. Okay. And then they're going to slam a Teferi and try to run away with the game. Usually they'll have stabilized the board enough that we can't immediately attack him down. And if we can Plaguecrafter him away, then they won't be able to recoup enough cards and they'll just die. But if they counter this, or we don't have one, or something like that... Oh, yes. Yes, please. Then they tend to just win the game, because that draws too many cards and we can't keep up with it, and individual threats are just worthless because he puts them on your library. It's bad. Okay, so is that. I guess I should have guessed that from the red, but oh boy. That said, they're stalled on lands and they have 7 in hand, and so if they keep missing, they're going to have to start discarding to hand size, so... Oh boy. We are a little flooded here. And we don't have our best cards. We would really love, I don't know, anything. I guess this is... Okay, so they're doing some dragon stuff. This is not immediately what I thought it was. But knowing that this card exists, I'm going to go ahead and bring the Midnight Reapers in. Because, for instance, like that last turn when we played the Jadelight Ranger, if that had been a Midnight Reaper, then we would have just drawn 4 cards, and we wouldn't have cared at all. We would have just, like, been really okay with what they did to us. Yeah, them... I mentioned that they should have waited to see more of our deck, but they already had a decent idea of what we were doing, if not a perfect one, and the fact that we didn't get to see a color, like, really hurt. We boarded improperly because we didn't get to see that. Letting that hit because Wildgrowth Walker doesn't really do anything here. It's a pretty mediocre card. We're really holding this for big important things like a sweeper once we start actually pressuring, or like a Teferi. We'd prefer if that never got to hit the table. Okay, I think they have to discard to hand size here, which is great. Oh my. This is so many lands. We're playing 23, which is kind of a lot for a creature deck, but not really for a deck that needs to hit 4 mana every single game. That's fine, though. We are generating virtual card advantage by having them discard a lot of things. Opponent's mana base is quite ambitious. They probably have a big need for blue with opt and their counters and stuff. But they also are playing double red cards and probably some double white. Just gonna let that resolve. They're gonna pitch to hand size. Actually, multiple cards to hand size if they don't hit a land drop here. So, this doesn't really do anything at the moment. Yep. That is totally fine by me. Now, even if they hit the land drop, they're losing multiple cards. Like... Oh, and they still missed. We have more than twice as many lands as they do, and we were helped a little bit by all the explore creatures we played, but still, this is a... Our decks would very much prefer to trade the amount of lands that they have drawn. Okay. Ah, interesting. So yeah, they are playing double white and double red cards. This is interesting with Sarkhan. I would have expected all their threats to be dragons. Like, he could power out Niv Mizzets and stuff, but... Maybe they just have a lot of top end, a lot of creatures to close the game. Yep, sure. Another reason to be playing out all of our lands here is specifically, unless I'm mistaken, we boarded in our Vraskas, and Vraska sacrifices permanents, not cards in hand, and so with all these extra lands we can start eating away at them with her, and we want to make sure that we still have mana in play to cast our spells. Okay, they do have Niv Mizzets. This is kind of insane. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so only a little over 50% lands. We'll go ahead and get rid of him with one of our mini Plaguecrafters next turn, but we don't want to burn our 1 Negate. And they like their hand enough that they didn't get rid of anything? Okay. I assume they're going to counter this, but whatever. Nope. Okay, and now we can play this with Negate backup, so I'm going to go ahead and play our Biogenic Ooze. If they just counter it, I'll probably actually just let that happen. I'm pretty attached to our 1 Negate. Yep, sure. Another Ionize. I wouldn't be surprised if... I mentioned earlier they have a need for blue, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're avoiding double blue counters, because playing Sarkhan and Settle the Wreckage is stretching their mana so badly. So we might have gotten through, I would guess, like 2 of their only 4 counters or something like that. We've also gotten through 1 of their Niv Mizzets. They're probably playing 2, maybe 3. And Plaguecrafter's really good against that card too, so I am glad that I went up to 4 Plaguecrafters. Okay. Another Negate. Sweet. If they have another Angel and they flash it in here, we'll get hit, but we can Plaguecrafter that away. This is a matchup where I really wish we had some number of Find Finality, and that could be a card you play in this deck. Basically, there just wasn't enough room based on all the other cards that I really wanted to play. Okay, I mean, I will play her. Okay, another Ionize down. Do I fight over this one? Seeing more of their deck, I feel more incentivized to do so, because normally you want to hold on to Negates for fighting over Teferi, but it looks like their deck has a lot more threats, and that's the type of card that we're going to be fighting over. So I'm a little more willing to use this. Also, especially, we drew a second Negate, and so burning the first one becomes more appealing. Okay, that is bad for us. Oh, are they gonna Lava Coil Vannifar? Ugh, that's so gross. We can save her, though. This draws them an extra card, which I don't love, but... Okay, they have a lot of cards in hand, that's fine, though. Okay, we're starting to get somewhere. So, Llanowar Elves. Turn this into an Explore creature. We don't have anything else fun, right? Yeah, no. Okay, drew our card. Sacrifice this, get their card off the table, play our land. Alright, now our defenses are mostly down, but we're starting to get somewhere. We have pressure on board. They're through 2 Niv Mizzets, so hopefully no more of that. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna go ahead and attack with this Plaguecrafter here. If they have another Angel, I just want him getting eaten, but we do need to apply pressure eventually. I guess, okay, sure. Take action. Now we just kind of wait. I would have liked to get rid of our Plaguecrafter, but like I said, we need to apply pressure eventually. We can't just spend the entire game not getting in for anything. We could have turned that into a Golgari Findbroker, which would have been great, getting back something cool. Okay, Negate. Now, do we start attacking with Vannifar? The problem is, like I said, if they have another Angel, we are in a lot of trouble if we do that. I think I'm just going to pass. I don't think I'm going to win by attacking here 7 times, especially not with an Angel in their graveyard. I think we are playing the long game. I'm going to go ahead and attempt to negate this. If they have a counter to fight back, whatever, that's fine. Then we'll get to Plaguecrafter him away in a minute eventually. Okay, there's the 4th Ionize down. Yep, untap some lands, that's fine. Oh my gosh, please! We need something that's not a land. Oh my god. If they somehow have another counter, we are basically going to lose the game. They finally found a Teferi. Okay, now we're in a holding pattern. They're almost out of cards, but so are we. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, they have plenty of mana to angel me, so again, not going to attack into it. Okay. That is a card that does something. Hate to sack our Midnight Reaper, but hell, we can sack him for the Findbroker to get him back. Yes. Now we're finally getting something going. Sweet, that's a very good card. We will get our Findbroker, because that is also a really good card. Findbroker will get back the Midnight Reaper. And I'm just going to play the Midnight Reaper and not the Ooze. Am I? The Ooze runs away with this game real fast. But I also want to be insulated against a potential sweeper. Huh. This is a tough decision. I think I'm just going to get these going. Now if they sweep our board, we get to... we'll still get to draw some cards. And they might even be sitting on like a couple Deafening Clarions. Just because those are so bad against Prime Speaker Vannifar. Okay, I'm gonna do my potting pre-combat because they also might be sitting on another Settle the Wreckage. I think that's a pretty likely card. And now that we have this going, I think we're not sure to win because we still don't have good interaction for their ways that they can just run away with the game, but we're in a lot better shape than we were a second ago, that's for sure. Okay, just another land, sure. And I might actually just get another Midnight Reaper here. Yeah, that seems fine. Yep, go ahead, settle. We only have the one land left to get. And now I am going to play the Ooze. I don't think there's any reason to wait. I'm just going to go ahead and activate this twice. Okay, now we are threatening a lot of damage. They need to do something really fast. Oh my, this game has been a struggle. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. We still had 6 lands in our deck to draw. Oh boy, but whew, after that slog, you can see though why I think that this version of the deck is promising. Because we had the tools to beat up on a control deck. Like, we had important negates. We didn't draw any duresses, but we still had them, and the Plaguecrafters were excellent, both against their main deck Planeswalkers and against big creatures that they might have boarded into later. So, yeah, I feel pretty good about this version's control deck matchup, which is why I feel good about playing it in the best of 3 queue. I'll be back for one more match. Okay, third and final match with Sultai Pod. 2-0 so far. Let's see if we can close it out undefeated. I don't think we've dropped a game either. I'm gonna keep this hand, but I don't love it. If we draw a Shockland next turn, we're kind of off to the races. This is an extremely good hand. If we don't, well, we did, because we are very lucky. Godless Shrine. Okay, we'll see where this goes. It's kind of interesting. The first 2 Godless Shrine arts were really notable for their color. They both had a lot of stained glass and like rainbow effects, but this one is very brown. Do we go for maximum value? I think we do. We might get Kaya's Wrath and be sad, but... we've got Golgari Findbroker to rebuild. This will probably bounce a spirit token at some point or something. Okay. That's a little irritating. with our creatures that we actually want to be on the battlefield, but that's fine. That's a tough one. I think I'm going to bin it. We can always pick it back up with our Findbroker later. And I think I might even just attack in and let the Death Touch guy get me. I don't think just sitting back and letting the board clot up is a good idea when their deck is so incentivized because of Afterlife to have Kaya's Wrath in it. Like, I think that was probably going to trade for one of our creatures eventually, like unless we hostage taker it or something. And, yeah, just not giving them max value off their board wipe seems important. Ravenous Chupacabra, okay. Oh, we lost our board superiority. That's a little unfortunate. So, we have a few options here. We can keep digging for lands with Jadelight Rangers, and that's probably what I'm going to do. Would love to hostage take or something, but knowing they have Chupacabras, unless we were just getting rid of the spirit, I think that's likely to end poorly for us. Let's just clot up the board and keep hitting land drops. Oh, never mind. Change of plans. This also forces us to play into Kaya's Wrath, but we'll run away with the game so fast if we get this going that that's worth missing land drops for a couple turns. Especially because we can already cast everything in our hand. Oh, that's funny. I panicked when I looked at our cards and they all said more mana than they do cost, but that's just because of the Tithe Takers. Okay, we can still hostage taker that before it's going to flip. We have a superior blocker for all of their attackers, so we've kind of got the board locked down right now. Ah, Vraska's Contempt, that's unfortunate. We can afford to take 1,000,000 hits from this, that's fine. We are very well set up to deal with that. Unfortunately, that exiled our fun card, and so we can't just Golgari Findbroker her back, so we're going to have to win the game with less fun cards. I think I'm going to Jadelight Ranger again. It doesn't use our mana well, but it sets us up best to hit land 6. Okay, sure. I guess I shouldn't have played my swamp first. Because now next turn we will be able to hostage taker plus play their treasure map immediately, so they won't be able to like untap and Chupacabra and kill it, and that'll generate a very large advantage for us. That is a very scary card. I guess we try to make sure creatures don't die for a little while. That or we somehow get rid of her with Hostage Taker. Okay, this game is getting a little dangerous, but I think we still have the tools to win. I'm still planning to get rid of Treasure Map. I think it's likely that they have some sort of creature removal and we just didn't offer them good targets for it. This way we're guaranteed to steal their card advantage spell. It is another creature, so it counts tokens. That's a little scary. Oh, I guess we can let this build up real high, and then just instead of ever trading for it, we'll just bounce it and make them start over. This will be held back from attacking for at least a few turns, just because we would just eat it, and like if they get some vampires from that, whatever. And don't forget that we have a Plague Mare in our deck, which if we ever get a Vannifar going and get to do that to them, that will be extremely powerful. Okay, this game is pretty complicated, but this is the type of Magic that I really like, where we're both playing to the board and our cards are very different, and so everyone has to constantly be reevaluating like what they think a given card is worth. Okay? That is probably our best draw, because this card is bonkers. I'm gonna go ahead and play this untapped and get the Wildgrowth Walker down. This way we can still treasure map. We're starting to eat through our big extra life bubble that we created, but we also just got a Wildgrowth Walker down, so we can get it back. Not activating treasure map here because, like, if they kill Vannifar, we're going to want to scry into one, whereas if they don't kill Vannifar, we kind of want to get rid of one like that. Okay. They're really being conservative with their removal to make sure that they keep Vannifar off the table, which is smart, but makes me sad. Fearless Pontiff. Okay, that's pretty scary. Would love to get that off the table while they're tapped out. Alternatively, we just have good blocks here, so they'll get some spirit tokens off of this, but but we're gonna get to bounce Elenda before they have the mana up to sacrifice her in response, so like I mentioned before, we get to make her basically start over after they've blown a lot of their creatures that they want to die. Yep, sure. We'll have to deal with these spirit tokens eventually, but that's fine. Nah, I don't think that's what we're in the market for right now. So, we get to do this first, which is cool. This time I think I will leave that on top. Taking over the board seems cool. Bounce her, so the tokens have to start over. And now, do we start attacking? This is a good turn to do so because Elenda isn't on the table, and so they won't generate value from creatures dying. Still don't think we have good attacks, though, so I guess we just don't. Alright, this game is slightly perilous. We have some good stuff going on, though, so... I think we're kind of beyond the point where we can play around Kaya's Wrath. I think we just have to admit that that card is going to be bad for us. Yep, keep that on top. Then this will make basically infinitely large creatures pretty soon. The problem is that that isn't particularly good on this board. We're gonna have to come up with something else to close out the game. Like, the fact that this gains Indestructible and Death Touch means it'll eat our big oozes pretty quickly. Maybe we're supposed to be more aggressive here. Like, none of my individual attacks are good, but maybe the sum of all of them is good, but I find that hard to buy with these three cards on the table. Yep, throw the ooze. That is also extremely scary. And these gain lifelink and vigilance. That's also very scary. Oh boy, we are in trouble. Plague Mare. Plague Mare, please. Definitely not Llanowar Elves. Okay, this is kind of good, but runs the risk of kind of just killing us. We can't really attack anymore. Like, this would just get 4 spirit tokens and grow this by 2 counters, and the spirits would just kill us. I think what we actually need to do is pray that they finally run out of removal spells and go ahead and get Vannifar back. Because if she sticks, she can just go get our Plague Mare and then kind of just win the game. Well, that's not true, because she sacrifices a creature, which will grow this out of range, and so this won't at least die, but... we can come up with something good somewhere in the combination. Huh. Actually, that's just kind of bad in general because of this card now. We kind of need to kill this first and then get the Plague Mare. Oh boy. That is also a problem. Hmm. Okay, so we get to untap with our Vannifar, and so we can probably win this game. It's just up to us to be smart enough to figure out how to do it. That was a bad draw. I'm going to go ahead and draw a card first to give us maximum information. We have so much mana available that I don't think that's going to be the problem. Yeah, I think we definitely have to get this card off the table. This is going to just destroy us really fast. That said, they have the Pitiless Pontiff, so they could just kind of sack their board anyway. Whew, those have not been good draws. It's okay, though. So now, I'm going to go ahead. What are we looking for? We're probably sacrificing this to go get a Ravenous Chupacabra to kill something as soon as possible. Maybe this priest. And then later we're going to try and dig up the Plague Mare after we've forced them to get a lot of spirit tokens on the board. I do not love this plan, but it could work as long as we basically get them to get all the spirit tokens on the board. Oh my gosh, Llanowar Elves, you are not helpful. Probably gonna sack it here anyway. It doesn't make a difference, but this will guarantee that I don't have good attacks. Nope. Okay, still waiting. I believe I will just play this. Huh. Does the Llanowar Elves make a difference? Because one reason to play this untapped is that I can do that and make an ooze. But my life is probably pretty precious here. I'm going to go ahead and get this down. I still want to conserve our treasures to draw with Treasure Cove. If we can ever get this to die too, we'll probably just win that turn by attacking. Because as I've been saying, our attacks individually are not good, but we can force them to just kind of block with their whole board because we're attacking for such a colossal amount of damage. The only reason that doesn't work is if Elenda is here, she's going to gain so much life that stops being really much of an option. Yep. Here they're going to gain a lot of life and get a lot of spirit tokens. Now is probably the time to get Plague Mare. Probably gonna have to do that this next turn. Means sacrificing the Merfolk Branchwalker, I guess. The problem is that with this engine, they can still just flood the board in more 1/1s. So basically the only problem is that we can't activate Vannifar twice in a turn. Okay, sure. But, like, we really need to clear out these spirits. Okay, that's actually quite a good draw. Still gonna draw a card first. That's because this gives us the most information. More lands of the kind that we don't actually want. So I guess this card selects later, so we want to do Vannifar first. Okay, drew another land, whatever. Alright, Plague Mare, do your stuff. And, ugh, the math is just so hard to figure out, like, okay, so if they sack each of these, it'll add 1 blocker each, so they could go up to a total of 7 blockers. The problem is that she is basically infinitely big now. So there's like no way that we're attacking for enough damage. Huh. Oh, I think I actually just killed myself. Because when she dies, like, they can just sack her to this, and they'll get, like, 40 vampire tokens. Which is just, like, way too many. So, yeah. I think... Yeah, I played this game wrong. Like, I guess I'll... Ooh, well, if we could somehow draw that, that would be perfect. Unfortunately, on board we cannot. Huh. Here, maybe they screw up. And that's basically our best hope. So I'm gonna go ahead and attack with a couple bad creatures. This basically requires a lot of things to go right for us to get anywhere off of it, but basically if we could somehow get them to tap out and then bounce this with Dream Eater, then we're gonna win the game pretty easily, but unfortunately, her dying is like part of the cost of this, the sacrifice a creature part, so we can't respond by bouncing this at any point. Yeah, I think I screwed up this game. I think it was winnable, but we needed to handle this much earlier, or get rid of this guy, or something. We needed to kill one of these two much earlier. I think I was thinking it's so bad to target this with Chupacabra because they'll just get all their tokens, but this is much worse than whatever I was scared of. Yep. Also, I think we could have won the game pretty easily had it not been for them having exactly 2 removal spells for our 2 put a counter on the oozes, they get real big. Oh, but for our first 2 Vannifars, like, if we'd had those going the whole game, then things might have been different. But, come on, tap out for a 6-drop, please. Huh. So we're already through our 1 Findbroker, so we don't really have any way to buy anything back. Let's go ahead and go to blocks. This is attacking with this and this is really weird. Because I can do something like this. Do I block to kill these? Nah, I'm gonna go ahead and take 2 there. So now either they let their Pontiff die and then they don't have a sack outlet, or they sack for their Pontiff and then they... Okay, I suppose they're sacking one of these, and that's also fine. Okay, and then with these on the stack... Oh, well, it's drawing me my cards, but that's fine. I'm gonna go ahead and do this now. Just deny them 4 vampires, even if they see it. There's no way they're tapping out all the mana, so that's fine. I guess I should have even done this before damage to deny the life gain, but... I was still thinking about what I wanted to do. No. This is actually a good draw. So we got this Wildgrowth Walker on the table. Yep, and we would probably even be able to win from this spot. The problem is Teysa Karlov. So... that was a kind of long, painful game. But we get to bring in some very good cards. Is this even good enough? Maybe. Let's see. Plaguecrafter is terrible. What else is terrible? Not a lot. I actually like most of the cards in our deck. I really wish we had access to a second Plague Mare and Golgari Findbroker. Maybe that says something about how the deck's built. I think this card is mediocre given their death touchy guys. We still need some 5-drops to make our pod chain work, but... ugh. Maybe trim one of these? I don't think these are better than anything in our deck. I think we mostly need to play differently. I think we could have won that game if we had correctly identified what cards were going to kill us. Yeah. Like if I had hostage takered the sack outlet real early or something like that. Because they only drew one copy of each of their 3 cards that completely destroyed us, which... unfortunate for us, very fortunate for them. Like, if they'd drawn 2 Alendas but no Teysa, or 2 Alendas and a Teysa but no sack outlet, then we probably could have won that game without much trouble. So basically, we need to play differently to manage that. I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording while they finish sideboarding. Okay, getting into it. Possibly the last game, hopefully not. Go ahead and play first. Hand looks fine. We need a blue and a black, but we have Accelerant into a card that bought us a lot of time last game. I think if we had known how things were going to go, if we knew that they were going to, like, combo kill us with Teysa and Alenda, we wouldn't have gotten rid of these quite so early. Okay, I'll go ahead and get my Midnight Reaper down. Would love to draw a blue here. Could get this down on turn 3, hopefully start going to work with it. That was not the case. We still drew a pretty good card, though. I'm gonna go ahead and just get this out of the way right now. If it's anything like last game, we even have time to hit on our lands. Like, it's not like they aggroed us out. Okay, sweet. Unless they hit lands / are able to kill this very quickly, we're gonna kind of run away with this one. They might have a Mortify. Yep. I am fine with that because Midnight Reaper is an excellent card. I'm going to go ahead and just run back playing Vannifar. We would really like to hit a land so that we can use our mana efficiently. Wildgrowth Walker into Jadelight Ranger immediately. History of Benalia, sure. Okay, well, didn't hit our land, but that's fine. Jadelight Ranger might be able to help with that. Oh my. Well. Could pod this into something else? Huh. Not sure what the right play is here. Kind of want to pod this into a Branchwalker, but if we miss on lands again, that's like such disaster. I think we'll be fine. Cool, we hit a land. Awesome. Oh, we should have tapped that for mana first. I'm a fool. Keep that on the library, because that is one of our best cards. And no attacks. Okay. And last game I started by being very scared of Kaya's Wrath, and then how they played made me not really very scared of it anymore. But now post-board, they might have boarded a bunch of them in. Like, that might be what's about to happen to us here. Oh, please don't let it be that. Okay, Chupacabra, that's sad, but more beatable. I assume they're going to hit Vannifar. No? They seem not decided. I am totally fine with that. They cut off our card draw engine, but we're already up a lot of cards, so... Okay, so here... we can go ahead and Wildgrowth Walker into Jadelight Ranger. Do a couple lands, sweet. And then here, I think I'm just going to keep the board under control. Am I? I kind of want to keep this in the deck. Yeah, I'll just go ahead and get this. We can keep the board under control by trading away against their creatures. And our blocks are just really good. Like, even as these grow, they still can't attack into the Wildgrowth Walker. Suddenly I wish I had that Midnight Reaper back, though. We've gone from tons of stuff to do and no lands to a little bit almost flooded. Notably, I only have one 5-drop left in our deck. Like, we can only pod this into the Vampire Sovereign. Okay, they have another Chupacabra. Again, hitting our Wildgrowth Walker. Okay. Do I trade for these? Yeah, I think we're gonna have good blocks anyway. Well, suddenly this is awful, but that's fine. We can play this. We can Chupacabra one of these and pot it into the Vampire Sovereign. I don't love that, though. Kind of don't even want to activate this turn. We could turn this into the Findbroker and get our Midnight Reaper back. That is appealing to me. Findbroker. Get Midnight Reaper. But then instead of playing this, I'm gonna go ahead and just get our big scary flyer into play. We can even pay some life to scry into a good draw for the next turn. Yeah, they almost look like a different deck. I guess this is just them. They probably have very few copies of those cards that really killed us last time. Okay, third Ravenous Chupacabra. That is unfortunate. Assume... Oh, they're hitting Vannifar this time. Huh. That's super weird to me. Cool. I like both these cards. Now we get to basically say you're dead on board if you don't do something. And then get double Reaper down, so even if they Kaya's Wrath, we're gonna draw 8 cards. Should be quite difficult for them to win after we do that. Yeah, this is less value tokens and more just black-white good stuff, which... Black-white good stuff is very easy for our deck to beat. Okay. Yeah, it looks like they just have very few copies of those killer 4-drops. I assume they have a removal spell for Doom Whisperer here. I didn't activate him because I knew we at least liked our top card. I will go ahead and activate him now. Sure, I guess. And we have enough mana to kind of do it all, so I guess I'm gonna do that. They basically need... Yep. They basically need Kaya's Wrath to win here. Like, otherwise we just have an unbeatable board and they're very low. And even if they have it, we're gonna draw 15 million cards, and then we can immediately just wipe their board and run away with it. So, okay. Yeah. Like I said, black-white control, mid-range stuff, much easier for our deck to beat. Huh. Is there anything I want to change? Midnight Reaper was excellent in this matchup, so I kind of want to bring him back in. Maybe just only have one Moment of Craving. It looks like they just don't have that many copies of the cards that I was scared of and wanted to get rid of. This doesn't hit Teysa anyway, so... Okay. If this deck that they're playing were more popular, I think I would rework the sideboard to make sure I had a clearer plan. But as is, I'm kind of just like... going what seems okay with the tools we have, because I've never played against a deck that looked exactly like this before. All the aristocrats style decks that people were playing were much more aggressive. Okay, this hand is quite good. Don't have black yet, but we have a lot of ways to find it. Sweet. Would love to draw like an Overgrown Tomb here. Okay, that is a scary card that I would like to get rid of. Next turn we can start digging for black to hopefully get rid of this before it beats us up too badly. Okay, sure. Alright, so we can't kill this turn even if we hit black off of Jadelight Ranger. So I'm actually going to start with the Branchwalker. Oh man, that really sucks. Like, that is really not a card we want in our graveyard. We want to be able to draw that, and now we're just... we're kind of deep in it. Fortunately, we now have good cards to sacrifice to this. We don't really mind losing. Oh, no, please! Oh, we are in so much trouble. Oh, kind of surprised they didn't activate that immediately. So... what do we do? Like, I want to be playing these, but I really feel like we just need to get this off the table. Like, if they activate, untap, activate again, we're just so deep in it. So, yeah, I think we're just going to have to give up our Llanowar Elves to the sacrifice. Do we? Like, ugh, that's so not even good. We still have our Jadelight Rangers, though, so sacking this doesn't seem that bad. These will hopefully find us enough lands to play our other cards. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and pull the trigger. I imagine they'll activate it here. The only reason not to is, yeah, it draws them a card, but then they're kind of out of gas. Like, they'll have the one spirit token from this. Yeah, that would have just made their board quite bad. Alright, we need a Vannifar very soon. Okay, sure. Hopefully they don't have a Mortify. Seems like they do. Unfortunate. Again, like, maybe I could have been better served by trying to play out some of my other creatures, but if we get Vannifar going, that is so much better than anything else we were doing. I think I'm just gonna keep that. And just try to run away with the game on life. They seem pretty flooded, so wouldn't mind just assembling a big scary creature. Go ahead and use this because we're pinched on black. Want to get this played as quickly as possible. Oh man, we've had to bin a lot of our like really good cards here, which is unfortunate. Gonna start pressuring them. If they want to trade away their creatures for mine, that is fine. They're very low on resources while we are not. And this also minimizes the damage a potential Elenda or something like that can do later. It looks like we might win the game by just drawing far more spells than they did. Yeah, they're very flooded. That's kind of good to have in the bank, even if it's not good yet. Not really a reason to tap that way, I just had the feeling I might want black. It doesn't matter with our hand. Library, good. And this is great because even if something catastrophic happens for them to somehow come back, we are not going to lose to a bunch of spirit tokens, and we have a huge life buffer to work with. They could deal a lot of damage to us and we'll still be fine. That said, I think I am going to start holding spells. Just build up a good rebuild hand in case they do wipe the board. And that puts them dead unless they have something good. Yep, Kaya's Wrath. Okay. Okay. Now we have an attacker that will kill him very quickly. We're about to start potting again. Feel pretty good about this game. That's a good draw. We'll filter their draws for a little while and then help them draw back out of this. Really hoping their last card isn't a removal spell for Vannifar. Yeah, this card seems very, very good in their deck. Oh, is their last card another Mortify? Oh, man, that's worse than Mortify, because it changes the clock from Jadelight Ranger. Oh, that's awful. Wow. I felt completely in control of this game, and then this into this, with a treasure map to start drawing them out of it, was like the best possible run they could have had, and so I think they're still in the game. Card's pretty annoying. We'll just go ahead and kill it. We don't want it to trade for either of our creatures. We're kind of in a rush to finish this. And one spirit token does not block either of these very well. Yep, sure. Unfortunately, we do not have the permanence for Golden Demise to give us the City's Blessing, so we would be killing our own Chupacabra and not attacking very well, but that might end up being the play anyway. Okay, that's pretty irritating. Oh, well, slightly less irritating. They'll probably trade here, take 4, then we can get rid of the spirit tokens and have lethal on board. They want to block here, that makes me even happier, but I assume they're going to trade for the Chupacabra, yeah. The real question here is, do we play further into another Kaya's Wrath? And I think we do, because I don't think a Branchwalker is enough to help us rebuild after one anyway. I think we want to just commit maximum to the board in order to fight through... like, they're drawing 2 cards here. If they play 2 creatures, we want to keep chipping in for damage anyway. If we draw a land or a creature that we can cast, we will actually hit the City's Blessing to Golden Demise. Oh my gosh. These were such good draws. Ugh. That's so bad for us. Oh. Well, I'm going to go ahead and play that, and if they don't answer this in the board, or in the air, we are going to win the game. Our attacks here are not good, so I'm not going to do them. Okay, we're so close. Do they draw it? Do they draw the removal spell? Or can the vampire win? Okay! Wow. We got there. That is 3 wins in a row for Sultai Pod. The deck, I think, is quite good, but those even still were very good games and good showings of what's powerful about the deck. So, yeah, I'm really pleased with that. So, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more stuff like it, I would love it if you could subscribe to our channel. It helps make sure that you see all of the content we produce, and helps other people to find all of our stuff. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.